So yeah, I've been away for a while, and I know I should probably take this time to sort of catch everybody up on what I've been doing and where I've been, but I feel like I should talk about something today that takes a little bit more of a precedence over my personal life. Now, normally I wouldn't make a video like this, as oftentimes making a video like this calls for outing certain people and mentioning names and having opinions that may or may not cost me an opportunity in the future, which is oftentimes why I don't really have an opinion outside of a universal truth when it comes to these kinds of discussion videos, because I'm afraid that in the business that I work in, it's going to cost me an opportunity somewhere down the line, as what I'm going to say might hurt somebody else's feelings. But today I feel like that's not so important. I feel like today I have opinions that I need to be said, as this is a very important time in the history of filmmaking. So in case you've been living under a rock for the past 2 months, the Writers Guild of America and Screen Actors Guild, or SAG, have gone on strike and refused to work. Hollywood is basically shut down right now. Now, before I get into my specific opinions about the strikes, let's go over why exactly these strikes are happening in the first place. The Writers Guild of America is currently on strike because they want to get paid fairly. And if there's one thing that these past few years have shown us, is that they haven't. I hear stories all the time about writers getting paid these criminally low wages. And this isn't just one person. This is all over Hollywood. Writers are sharing their own stories every day on how they've gotten basically little to no money for all their hard work. Hence why the strike is now going on. They want to get paid what they're worth. Now that's something to keep in mind. They want to get paid what they are worth. We're going to go back to that in a little bit. Now, the Screen Actors Guild is also on strike, more or less for the same reason. They also are getting underpaid, and they want to get paid what they're worth. However, they do have one teeny tiny little extra problem that they're bringing to the table. So as it turns out, studio executives are working on a plan to scan the faces of background extras so that they can use their likeness in future feature films. Now, to someone who thinks about this for maybe a half a second, would think, oh, this is a great idea. If they scan my face, I'll be immortalized in film forever. Yes, you will. And you'll also never work in Hollywood ever again. You see, the way this would work is that you would only be called into work for one day. They scan your face and then they send you home, and then they don't need you for the rest of production. And then the next time you try to work as a background extra for that film company, then they're going to tell you, why do we need you? We have your likeness. It's basically an excuse for them to use your likeness but not have to pay you. Not even any kind of residuals or royalties or whatever. You're not getting paid at all. And then to add insult to injury, it further decreases your chances of getting work anywhere in Hollywood again, because let's say if you go to a different film studio, then they're going to tell you, no, you can't be in this film, not because you're not a good actor or not because you're not good at what you do, but because this other studio has your likeness and we can't use you because of that. Basically, what's going to happen is you're going to work one day in the film business and then you're never going to work again. And if you're someone like me, that is a nightmare scenario. That is not something we want. The idea that producers and executives want to scan our faces so that they don't have to pay us for future projects is both demeaning, insulting, and the more you think about it, it's actually kind of creepy. This is messed up in so many ways that it almost warrants an entire video in and of itself just discussing how stupid and how messed up this is. So now that we've talked about why these strikes are going on, let's talk about my personal opinions on them. I 110 billion% support these strikes. As an actor and a writer, how could I not? These are really important times in the world of filmmaking right now, and I think we all need to recognize that, because actors and writers are people too. And one really stupid argument I see online all the time, and it's complete nonsense, is that, well, there haven't been a lot of good movies lately, so why should we pay these writers? Or there haven't been a lot of good performances lately, so why should we pay these actors? That is a stupid argument. Why should you pay these people? Because they're people who are working too. I'll tell you, as an artist, I love filmmaking. I really do. It's the only job, quote unquote, that has ever really given me any sense of gratification. There's really no other profession I would ever be involved in. It's the only thing that's ever made me truly happy, and I honestly can't imagine myself doing anything else. That being said, would I do it for free? Hell no. No, I would not. And if anybody out there says that they would do filmmaking for free, they either A, don't know how this process works, or B, are lying to themselves. No, they wouldn't. You are out of your mind if you think anybody loves filmmaking enough to do it for free. This is a process that takes months, sometimes years to see fully realized. This is not an easy process, and artists sacrifice a lot to make it happen. That's just one reason why we need to get paid what it is that we're worth. And what I feel like Hollywood isn't understanding right now is that by scanning the faces of background extras and not paying them or the writers what they're worth, they're potentially robbing themselves of the next Brad Pitt or Will Smith or whoever. They're potentially excluding that next big name star because, well, they just want to do things their own way. I don't know if you guys know this, but producers are not creative artists. For anyone who doesn't fully understand how filmmaking works, let me explain to you what it is that a producer does. A producer essentially finances the film project or TV show or whatever the case may be. They're financing it. They're putting money into it. They're making sure that it gets made. That's an important job, as films need money to be made. And in some cases, when it's a really big project and there's a lot on the line and there's a lot of money put into it, producers might want to add something that they think is going to be beneficial to the film's financial success. It's why you hear a lot of stories about studio interference or producers interfering with the creative process of how the film is being made and how it's being written. Some of the best examples of movies that had major studio interference and really suffered because of it is movies like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Four Stick, and the list goes on and on and on. What I feel like people don't realize is that producers are not creative artists. They are business people in an otherwise artistic industry. Now granted, these producers are putting a lot of money into these films and all these projects, so it is only fair that they get at least a little bit of a say as to how it's getting made and what's going into it. But the problem is that more often than not, producers overstep that boundary and they think that they are a creative person when they didn't study the world of filmmaking the way that writers and directors and actors did. As I said before, producers are business people. They're not creative artists. And so it kind of creates this sort of disconnect where they think, well, I got involved in this, so I can certainly get involved in this. Let's scan the faces of background extras and not pay the writers what they're worth because I'm worth millions, sometimes billions of dollars, and no one's going to test me. No one's going to come at me because without me, this film doesn't get made. And that happens a lot more than you think. Producers oftentimes will not only exploit the fact that they have power over the artist, but they'll often remind them that they have that power over them. They want you to know that that power dynamic is there, so don't step out of line. And as I said before, that is really demeaning, insulting, and once again, creepy the longer you think about it. And listen, producers of Hollywood, if you're watching this, which you're probably not because producers don't like receiving criticism, writers and actors are not asking for $10 million per line of dialogue, either written or spoken. We're simply asking to get paid what we are worth. And if the time and effort we put into a project is worth, let's say, $5 million, pay $5 million. Lots of producers in the film industry are often millionaires and sometimes billionaires. They can afford it. Which is also something that hasn't really been helping the producer's side of the argument during this whole ordeal. A lot of producers are claiming that writers and actors are asking for too much. They're asking for too much money. They're asking for too many benefits. No, they're not. They're simply asking to get paid what they are worth. Pay them what they're worth. Pay them for their time. Send them the royalties and residuals that they deserve. If you're going to use their face forever in a project, it's only fair that you pay them forever. You have their likeness. It's only fair that you pay them for it. Because no matter what, this isn't going to go away. Writers and actors aren't just going to give up tomorrow and say, oh, well, we quit. You can't fight these guys. We can't beat them. That is not going to happen. I already know the writers and actors are going to win this strike. It's not a matter of if they're going to win this strike, but it's a matter of when. When are the producers going to break down? When the producers and studio executives are going to break down remains to be seen. But I am almost certain that that is exactly what is going to happen. Because while the writers and actors were struggling financially before, they're at least a little bit better off now, as there are many, many people within the business itself that have come out and voiced their support for the strikes. People like Seth Meyers, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Adam Conover, who's basically become the face of, at the very least, the writer's strike. Fran Drescher, the president of SAG, is joining in on this. And then there's people like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Meryl Streep, and even Oprah Winfrey, who are taking it a step further and are actually donating to these strikes so that these people can pay their rent and their medical expenses or whatever else they need to pay while they're out in the street fighting for their rights. They're not just posting about it on social media, but they're out on the streets of Los Angeles protesting, demanding that they be paid what they are owed. And they're even going as far as name-dropping people, which in Hollywood is always a bad idea. In Hollywood, if you've got a problem with somebody, more often than not, they want you to keep quiet about it, as a lot of actors usually will because, like myself, we're afraid that it's going to cost us an opportunity in the future. But none of that matters now. What matters now is that these artists are fighting for what they believe in. And what they believe in my opinion at least, is objectively right. And I personally believe in this cause, not just as an artist, but as a human being who recognizes that finances are a very, very difficult thing to handle. Which is why I'm going to leave a link down below to a website called entertainmentfund.org. It is a nonprofit website that allows people to donate to the writers and actors strike to assist these artists in paying for stuff like rent, medical expenses, or any other financial troubles they might be having at the time while they're on strike. And I heavily encourage everybody watching this video to donate, because even though they've received donations in the past and are continuing to receive donations, that money is not going to last forever. There's a lot of mouths to feed and there's a lot of people who are struggling right now. It also doesn't help that studio executives and producers, supposedly, at least at the time of this video's recording, have declined to go back to the negotiation table. They think they can wait out the actors and writers long enough to the point where they're just going to come back and accept the deal that they've been presented with. But I can tell you right now, that's not going to happen. Writers and actors are always going to win fights like these because, well, they're creative people. They find creative ways to solve problems. They improvise. It's just in the nature of being an artist. Producers only see it through one lens, through just the side of money, just the business side of things. Artists, though, we see things a little differently. They're going to improvise and they're going to find a way to win this strike. It's going to happen. As I said before, the writers and actors winning this strike is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So keep doing what you're doing, guys. The strike will be over before you know it, and you'll be getting paid what you're worth. I guarantee it. But other than that, thank you all for watching.